Start. There's still people coming in. So good morning, everyone. My name is Tonya van der Wijver. I am the president of EDPOA. I also work for Flanders Investment and Trade. And I would like to welcome you to this EDPOA session on the ITC market access tools. This session is organized by one of our committees, the TPO Collaboration Committee, the Trade Promotion Organizations Collaboration Committee, which is headed by Business France. The person responsible for organizing this event is a colleague from Hub Brussels, Elena Pardey. She was supposed to do the introduction, but she got the famous bug. She's doing all right though, but not able to do the introduction today, so I am replacing her. So welcome to this second session that we organized with ITC. We had about 100 people on the first session. People really appreciated it, so we hope that you also will find it interesting. And it's my honor to introduce Catherina Blanchard, who's the trainer of today. She will present 4 of the tools to you. And I hereby give the floor to Catherina.
Thank you very much, Tonya. Good morning, dear colleagues, or good afternoon, depending on when you are based. As Tonya anticipated, my name is Catherina Blanchard-Joklova. I'm a consultant at the Trade and Market Intelligence section of the International Trade Center in Geneva. And it will be my great honor to present you 4 of our ITC market analysis tools. I'm here together with my colleague Pichaya Sam-Iman, who will be the second trainer today, and she will be also collecting your reactions and your questions through the chat. So please do not hesitate to ask any questions, especially in case when you feel that I've omitted something or I didn't pay attention to some important details to you. So please do not hesitate to ask any questions. Sam will be monitoring those, and she will let me know if further intervention is needed. We are here also with Georgios from the Secretariat, who will be showing the poll questions. We have a couple of poll questions for you. We would like to know your opinion on certain issues related to trade in goods and different functionalities of our tools, which we will be showing. So I will always invite Georgios to show the poll questions to you. It's anonymous. Please do not hesitate to make your choice from the menu we will show you. Thank you very much. I will start showing my screen. Let's see how it works. And normally at this point, you should see the introductory slide of my presentation. Is that correct? Tia? Lovely.
Yes.
I'm happy. So good morning to everybody, good afternoon, good evening perhaps to some of you. I'm very happy to add a flavor, a new flavor to your morning tea, morning coffee, a snack, a light lunch, or an afternoon tea through this presentation. And I'm hoping that this flavor will be rather sweet than bitter. So I will see. As anticipated by Tonya, we will be presenting today 4 tools from a much bigger family of ITC market analysis tools I will show you a little bit later. So if you don't mind, I think that we should opt for a scenario. We will select a product with interesting potential over the midterm through the export potential map. Then for this product, we will have a quick look at the recent developments on global markets. We will analyze global trade flows for this products, and we will also have a look at potential competitors of the country we select of the exports from this country in our preferred market. That will be through the trade map. Then we will compare the market access conditions for our product from our exporting country with those of the competitors in the destination market through the market access map. And then we will have a quick look at the rules of origin through the functions of our rules of origin facilitator. When we are done with this, I will be happy also to introduce the choice or a selection of functions on trade and services, because I know that it is also something you might be interested in. All our tools are accessible through the market analysis tools portal. You have the link on the current slide, and what is important to mention is that you will need to register to be able to access all functions of our tools. Good news is that for you the registration is free and use of those tools is free of charge. Tools as easy to use, as user-friendly as possible. Also, we offer different options for visualization of the outcomes, and all our outcomes are downloadable. So that is also something which can be very much relevant for your work. Here we have a quick list of the family of our tools. Today we will do a trade map, market access map, export potential map, but besides that we also have the procurement map with some interesting information on the on tenders, procurement options in different countries of the world. We have the investment map, and we also have a tool with market price information, which focuses on agri-food. So please do not hesitate to explore also other options. Then we also have the e-ping with alerts on new product requirements. So, before we start with the first two, I will just make a quick reminder for you on the harmonized system product classification. I think that this is something you work with on a daily basis, especially if you work, for example, with tariff codes, with combined nomenclature of goods of the European Union. So today we will be operating a lot with the HS codes. And as a quick reminder, the harmonized system product classification is the standardized numerical method of classifying products for the international trade. And the standardized code would be up to the subheadings level, meaning that first 6 digits would be the same, and the following digits up to, for example, 10 digits for tariff or even 12 digits might be country specific. So it is always important to know the HS code for the product you are interested in. And if you don't have any questions, I think that we can start with the first tool and select the product of our preference. Sam, do we have any questions at this point?
No questions so far, thank you.
Lovely, thank you very much. As I anticipated, I think that we should select a product for our scenario today. It is always better to work with one product across all our tools. We will start with the export potential map. The export potential map helps us find responses to the pertinent questions you might be asking yourself as trade advisors or trade promotion officers. Export potential map helps us identify products, markets, and suppliers with export potential. It includes quite a sophisticated economic model with the projections over the 5-year period. So we make projections at this point up to the year 2026, and we have a look at the export potential for different products in different markets and also for different exporters. The second function of this tool would be the export diversification tool. Through this tool, and I will show you, we can identify new products with favorable chances of export success in regional and global markets. And we can also try to diversify our export portfolio into a new and tap into new products which are either not exported at this point or exported only in very small quantities. What is the key characteristic of the export potential map? So I said already that the calculations are based on the economic model, which combines trade, tariff, GDP, and geographic data, and even more. We cover 222 countries and territories and about more than 4,000 product groups. Here we need to pay attention a little bit to the wording. I speak about product groups. We will see that sometimes our projections are made for products at the HS6 level. Sometimes our projections will be a little bit more aggregated depending on data available. This tool is available in English, Spanish, and French, and we believe that it offers very useful functions for trade advisors, policymakers, but also for private companies, meaning for your clients. Just to show you a little bit how complicated our model is, we have some elements which are included in our projections on this slide, and this also shows how connected our different tools are. So we use, in order to calculate the export potential, we use the data on existing exports and imports, which would be taken from TradeMap. We use the data on tariffs. We use the data which are taken from the market access map, and we also use other data. Our export potential indicator would have 3 different parts or 3 different sub-indicators. One would relate to the projections of supply, meaning that here we estimate the impact of the projected population growth on the ability to supply the products. We also take into account the GDP growth and other factors. In terms of demand, we have a close look at the GDP per capita growth, the margins of preference. That is also something we include in the supply part. So that is meaning whether the product we are interested in faces higher or lower tariffs than the average in the destination market, and how sensitive the demand on the destination market is actually to this fact. And also we measure factors related to distance, because obviously some products would be more sensitive to distance than others. And then we also have another indicator which is called the easiness of trade, and here we measure other or we quantify other factors, which would be, for example, the fact that 2 countries speak the same language, they have the same border, or they have close commercial ties from the past. So there is... Excuse me?
Oh.
Can I continue? Is it okay?
Yes, please. Somebody seems to have their microphone open and is talking. So please, if you're not speaking, close your microphones. Thank you.
This is just to show you how complicated the model is. Before we start, I start showing you the different options in the model, and we start our scenario. I would like to bring forward a very important fact that the export potential we calculate does not correspond to the maximum value that the exporter might reach. We will see that some countries or some exporters even outperform this value. So it is rather a benchmark value that the country in our view, should normally export to a market based on observed performance and demand conditions. So it's a benchmark value. It is very much possible that the country exports already at this point even more, and we will see that it will be also the case in our scenario. So if you don't have any further questions, I think that I can start showing you the practical demonstration. Do you see the opening page of Export Potential Map now? Can you see it?
Yes, we do.
Lovely. Perfect. So as I said, we are trying to make our tools as user-friendly as possible. So this is the opening page of the Export Potential Map. I would warmly recommend you also to go across the methodology if you are interested. It is quite a technical read, but a very interesting one. So that is something we have here on the link to ITC Export Potential Methodology. You can also have a quick look at the introductory video, which is very instructive. And here we have some basic information about the tool. And as I said, the tool is available in different languages, in this case in English, French, and Spanish. So let's start with our scenario. Since your hub is based in Brussels, I think that we can pick Belgium as our exporting country and see what the export potential for different products we might reach. So we simply click on Belgium or type Belgium here. We have Belgium in our menu. And now we already have some quick summary. The export potential map tells us that the untapped export potential would be 155 billion and some further information. If we click on export products, we will go to a tree map. Tree map is a very nice visualization of the export potential. If you don't mind, I will reduce the number of displayed products or products group to 25, because I believe that if we have 50 here, it's way too small to be legible. So here we can slide to 25 to make it slightly bigger. Yes, so you can make your own choice and customize this tree map with the different numbers of products you're interested in. If you're interested in top 10, you do just the top 10. Before I start explaining the content, let's see a little bit different. Let's have a look at different functions of this tree map, how we can customize it. We can have a different look at or detailed look at different product groups. And if we go through the menu here, we can even make a more aggregated view through the selection of subsectors. So this would look like this, but let's go back to product. We here below, again, we have a brief summary of key findings. Now, what do we show in this tree map? So what is also important to say, we add the metadata and the information about what you see on your screen everywhere across our tools. So for example, if you are not sure what is represented here in this tree map, you can click here on this question mark and it will you will receive additional information. So it says that the export potential would be the potential export value in 2026 based on projections of supply. So supply, demand, market access conditions, bilateral ease of trade expressed in US dollars. So that we see here. The size of each rectangle, or sometimes a square, would correspond to the size of the export potential. So if we put the cursor here on a rectangle, on one of the rectangles, you will receive additional piece of information on the export potential, the actual exports, where we stand now, and the untapped potential. Untapped potential would be the difference between the calculated export potential and the actual export. Sometimes you will see that actually, if we simply deduct the actual exports from export potential or see the difference, it would not correspond at 100% to the calculations for untapped potential. This is due to the fact that some countries already overperform our projections. In some cases, the untapped potential would not be calculated. So, and I know that you might be particularly interested in food. If we check this menu here, we see that we also have chocolate products here. That would be, let's say, this orange part. And we have two different types of chocolate. We would have the HS code 180690, chocolate and other cocoa preparations in smaller quantities. And we also have the HS code 180620, which would be chocolate sold in a larger quantity, so in packagings bigger than 2 kilograms. And if you don't mind, I would like to select this product for our scenario. I forgot one important thing. Actually, if you have a look at each rectangle, you will see that there are two different colors. One is shaded darker, one is shaded lighter. See, this one more time corresponds to our predictions of untapped potential and to the actual exports. So the darker side represents the side of the actual exports, and the lighter side would be the size of the calculated untapped potential. So if we click on 180620, chocolate sold in quantities higher or packagings weighing 2 kilograms and more, we will see that our calculated export potential, or the benchmark value for 2026, would be 2.1 billion. The actual exports are 1.3 billion, and the untapped potential would be around 800 million of US dollars. Let's now click on markets, and we get to the gap chart. Here we have a different presentation. Just a quick explanation on what we see here. Here we have the most important export markets for the chocolate traded under the code 180620 from Belgium. Perhaps not surprisingly, we see that the biggest partner countries would be Germany, France, and the Netherlands. If we focus on countries outside the European Union, we would see the United Kingdom. In the list of top 20 countries, we have Japan, we have the United States, we have China. We can extend also this list to, for example, 25, 26 countries to get even more. What I would recommend you is that instead of having the linear scale, sometimes for better visualization, it is nice to opt for the logarithmic scale. So I believe that we can see more clearly the list of countries and the potential here. So the actual exports, or the value of the actual exports, is represented by circles here. So that is where we stand now. This thick line in the end would be the calculated export potential, and the difference between the two, the distance, would be the size of the untapped potential. And we see here that there is a certain untapped potential for exports of Belgian chocolate to Japan, estimated at almost 15 million of US dollars. And in case of China, we actually see something slightly different, and also in the case of the United States. And this is exactly the case where, according to our projections, the country is already outperforming the projected values. So it's performing above the projected projected exports, which we estimate at 2026. As I said, this is very much possible. We know, for example, that the sellers of the Belgium chocolate are very strong at branding. And if you brand your product very well, you can be above your potential without any problems. So one more time, the export potential, as we calculated, is a benchmark value. It is no way a maximum. In the same time, if you are performing above the potential, what we see here, perhaps we could also have a quick look at competitors, because this market can be interesting for them, and they can start tapping more intensely into this market too. So that is what we see here. One more time, we can customize the list. A different presentation would be through the GeoMap, that we see basically the same indicators. Here, the export potential is represented by the size of the circle. The darker side would be the actual exports. The lighter side would be the untapped potential. And different size of the bubble or of the circle would correspond to the size of markets. So here we, for example, have Japan. We use different colors for different regions, so we can also go across and visualize a little bit better different regions if we are interested in different markets. Here we have China, and you see that we have no calculations for untapped potential, because according to our predictions, we are above the calculated export potential. Let's click on Analyze Export Potential. And here we have a disaggregation of the export potential as we are calculated onto different parts. The bubble, the size of the circle, would correspond to the demand on our target markets. So one more time, this is something we've seen. The top importers of Belgian chocolate would be Germany, France, and the Netherlands in terms of the value. And what we also see here would be the ease of trade. The width of this line would represent the information, how easy it is for Belgian exporters to trade, to export their Belgian chocolate onto different markets. Not surprisingly, the width is the largest for the EU countries. So it might be easier to trade in the single market of the European Union than outside the EU. But if you have a quick or closer look at this chart, we will see that the thickness of the line is not the same for all countries. So this indicator also differs from depending on the EU country. So we can rank our markets according to the ease of trade, and we will see that according to our model, the easiest trade is with the Netherlands, and then we have France and other EU countries. The non-EU countries such as China would be here, and Japan we have here. So it is obviously more difficult to trade with countries outside the EU, with some exceptions. So if you're interested in this, you also have the summary of key findings below, and you can easily download this chart for your own analysis. Now, let's have a look at the different function, at the product diversification. You, as a trade promotion advisors or specialists, you also work with trade ministries and different policymakers. And I think this feature is interesting more for them, for the policymakers. It tells us, or it picks the products which we could add to our export basket. So if we click on this function, we will see that we have a very we have many options, but what is behind this? Behind this, we one more time will have a model. On the supply side, we actually check the space between the products, saying, okay, if my country is exporting apples, would it be easy for the country to export also the apple juice, or would it be easier to export something very different? So there is a very complex methodology based on the product space methodology, and if you're interested in this, you can also have a look at the methodological paper. And what we see in this chart, let's rank it by supply. So the longer the line is, that means the easier it is for the country to tap into this new product, to add this product into the export basket. So for example, the easiest theoretically would be to add the oils of mints, and in the same time, the size of the bubble would be the size of the demand on markets. So we see that compared to other potential products, the size for oils of mints would be a little bit smaller. So this is another tool you can explore, but I said that this might be more interesting for your colleagues at trade ministries. So here, I would like to finish my tour through the export potential map, and I would like to ask you the first question through the poll. Georgios, could you please start with the first question? So, I've spoken about the factors which may affect or impact the export potential, and which in a way are quantifiable. But there are also other factors which impact, and sometimes very strongly impact, the export potential of different products. And those factors can be addressed by you as export promotion officers. And I would like to know which factors from the list we have here in the poll, in your opinion, could impact the export potential of the product, and where you can intervene. So please just make your choice, and if you click on others, please do not hesitate to specify in the chat. Multiple. Okay, so we have a problem here. Well, normally multiple options should be possible. Not in my poll, actually. So you can just click on the one which is the most relevant for you, or the most important from your practice. Georgios, do we have the responses here? Are they ready? Right. And on the others, what do we have? Do we have any responses related to others?
Yes, we have from, for example, we have Anemone who said, the first question is no history on HS code, and this we can talk about during the presentation of Trade Map. Then we have JTier said might vary according to the company. So this is also very, very true. Then Darn has mentioned that our top 5 indicate by exporter is, first of all, the local culture, skilled staff, lack of good partners. 4 is the unorganizational structure, and 5, lack of local network.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you very much. I think that all the elements you've pointed out to are very, very relevant. And also those we have in the poll. So normally, multiple responses should be allowed. We didn't have them, but basically all options would be the relevant ones. Thank you very much. Now, if you don't have any questions related to the export potential map, we can continue with other tools. Would you have any questions related to export potential map? Are we fine?
I think so far we're fine at this point. In the chat, I have already put the link to the methodology in case you're interested. And also, Katharina, I have already shown you the video tutorials for future reference.
Perfect. Thank you. So let's continue. With the second tool, which is the trade map. So we've picked our product with the untapped export potential. We believe that the exports of the chocolate traded under the HS codes 180620 can further increase. And now we would probably need to have a close look at the recent developments related to trade in this product. We would need to identify our main competitors, and we would need to identify the interesting markets at this point and analyze a little bit their dynamics. All these features or all this information can be obtained through the trade map. I will just see. Trade map is an online user-friendly application to analyze global trade flows. With export potential map, we were looking into the future. With the trade map, we will be analyzing the recent developments and also the recent available data. We are positive that the trade map includes the largest trade flow databases in the world. It covers about 220 countries and territories and 5,300 products of the harmonized system. Where available, we also add the information about the products at the tariff line level. So we go even a little bit further. The data is sourced from national authorities and also from the UN Comtrade database, which is produced by the United Nations Statistics Division. A very important information would be on updates. Our colleagues, which are in charge of trade map, update the data all year round. They update the data on the annual data on the tariff line level. There are constant updates on this. The same for monthly and quarterly data. The data on trade and services is updated twice a year, and the data on indicators is updated 4 times a year. I added a small disclaimer in case of the export potential map, and I will do the same for the trade map. The quality of data is very high, but still, even the data produced by national authorities, or above all the data produced by national authorities, can present some limitations. These limitations usually relate to the export value, to different categorizations of the same product, the exchange rate fluctuations, or the treatment of re-imports and re-exports data. Trade data is obviously not 100% complete. It is not possible for us and not even for the national authorities to capture the data on smuggled or non-reported products. Importantly, not all countries of the world report the data directly. So where this is not possible, we use the mirror data, meaning then instead of receiving the data from exporters, we receive the data on the import side, and through data reconciliation, we reconstitute the export flows. So I think that this would be the introduction to the trade map, and we can start our tour, because TradeMap has a lot to show. TradeMap is available at www.trademap.org. And as I said, it is very important to register first, because otherwise some functions will be blocked. So please do not hesitate to register. We have a very simple and user-friendly menu here. You can choose between imports and exports. You pick your product or a service and the countries. If we click on the product, you have the menu here. If you need to go into the more significant level of detail, you can also use the advanced search. Or if you don't know the code and you don't want to go through the menu, you can just write chocolate and pick your code there. So we know that we are interested in 1806-20, just to make it faster, chocolate and other food preparations. Here, I'm interested in imports, products, and I want to have the response for all countries, not one particular importer. I will click on trade indicators to show you what we have to offer. Lovely. So here we have a table with the main importers of chocolate classified under 1806-20. We have the summary for the bird, and the ranking of importers would be according to the value imported in 2020. What is also important to see in TradeMap is the fact that if you click on why, you will receive the information about the metadata. So before on the introductory web page, we already have the why. So if, again, you are not sure about the interpretation of the data, you can click on why and you will receive additional information. Also, under the reference material, you have the user guide, you have the answers to the frequently asked questions, and also to the glossary. So what do we see here? We have the list of importers. We have the values imported in 2020. We have the trade balance here, saying whether the other country is the net importer or the net exporter. We have the information about the quantities imported in 2020, the units for quantity. So in our case, it will be tons. And we also have the calculations for the unit value here. What is very important to say at this point, the unit value does not correspond to the final price for chocolate at the store in the importing country. No. This is, again, the benchmark value we obtain when we compare the quantity traded and the value of the value traded. So, and now we see that we have different colors here. I think this is very important to mention for your work with TradeMap. So we have the violet. Violet would correspond to the word totals. We also have the red. Red would highlight the negative values. We have green. Green would be the estimates. We do, or our colleagues from the UNSD do. And we also would have orange, if you go a little bit further, for example, in case of United Arab Emirates, which would signify the use of mirror data. So that is how we work with different colors in TradeMap. The indicators I already spoke about would be the indicators related to the market size. Then we have other indicators here, which would focus on the market dynamics. We have the annual growth in value between 2016 and 2020 in percent. We have the annual growth in quantities, and we have the annual growth in value between 2019 and 2020. How to interpret those indicators? If we are not sure, we can click on metadata, and we will receive also the information about the calculations for this. But for example, if we pick Japan, and the annual growth in value between 2016-2020, we see that from one year to another, the value grew by 2%. Now, I spoke a little bit about the dynamics. I would perhaps ask, at this point, I would ask Georgios to start the second poll question. Please have a careful look at the table. I'm hoping that we can move this. And with the use of the indicators we have here, or the indicators on dynamics and the size of the market. Yeah, sorry, that's a different one. Yeah, there is something wrong with the trade balance. I think that you might find striking that the trade balance for world is not equal to 0. Why is it so? What could be reasons behind? What do you think? Just make your choice.
Katerina, I just have one suggestion. If you can please zoom in so the participant can see better the
Definitely
table. Thank you very much.
Sure, I can. Is it better now?
Yes, it's better now. Thank you.
I'm sorry, my apologies. So Georgios, do we already have any responses related to the fact that the word trade balance for trade in chocolate in our case is not equal to 0? Indeed. So yeah, there is no mysterious external exporter, but the fact that we don't reach 0 here can be caused by different treatment of free zones, data on re-exports, re-imports, also issues related to uniform valuation of trade and merchandise on the FOB principle. So there are different methodologies. Not all countries stick to the recommended methodologies, and this results in the trade balance, which would not be equal to 0 in our case for chocolate. So thank you very much for your responses. Then, as I anticipated a little bit, we can also have a look at the data here for different countries. And Georgios, you can immediately start the next poll, focusing on the countries, on the markets. We have the list of importers here, and we know something. Yes. So based on the indicators here, is there any extra EU market you would find interesting when we speak about the dynamics of the market? So the developments related to the annual growth in value, or the quantities, or the size of the market? Just please write your choice in the chat. Would, for example, Japan be an interesting market for you, or China? from the perspective, for example, of the dynamics. So do we already have any responses? Because I think we will need to hurry a little bit. We have other tools to present. Sam, do we have any? Or Georgios, do we
Yeah,
have any?
sure. So we have Saudi Arabia, United Kingdom, Japan, Netherlands, Australia, China. Yes. So those are the answers so far.
Thank you very much. Let's focus on the extra EU trade. Let's see the example of China here. I think that we will skip the next poll question because it focuses on China and Japan, and I will just make you a quick tour here. So in case of China, we see that there was a strong EU growth both in terms of value and in terms of quantities. This market seems to be very dynamic, and the growth in value was even more significant over the most recent period between 2019 and 2020. So Belgium exports of chocolate are tapping very much into this market. There is a very strong dynamics. So from this perspective, although we've seen that the projections from the export potential map, this can be a very interesting market. Compared to China, Japan seems to be a little bit stagnating. On the exports to Japan, we have zero annual growth in quantities, and we would have some annual growth in values. And we see that over the most recent period between 2019 and 2020, the annual growth in value would actually slow down. So just a quick remark on other indicators we have here. Besides the indicators on market size, the indicators on market dynamics, we also have additional indicators, and you can make your own choice of indicators which you want to be displayed. So we can pick the information about the emissions of CO2. We can pick the information about the average distance of partner countries, because this is also something which might be relevant for your exporters and which would also affect the price of the product, for example. We can add the indicators on ease of doing business or the number of non-tariff requirements. So one more time, our tools are connected. The information from MacMap on number of non-tariff requirements could be also showcased in TradeMap. I would like to just mention briefly the indicator of concentration, because I think this is quite an interesting one. This concentration indication tells us what the situation on the importing market is. The higher the value, the more concentrated the market would be, meaning that there will be several strong importers, or the several strong let's say that there will be the imports from several big countries in terms of the value, so the market would be concentrated. If the value is lower, that means that that there are actually smaller, higher number of smaller importers. So we see that if you want to see the calculation of this indicator, it's based on the Herfindahl index. The benchmark value here would be 0.2. Anything below 0.2 means that the market, the concentration of supplying countries would be rather lower. There will be more smaller importers, and in case of the higher numbers, such in case, for example, of the Netherlands, there will be the strong presence of some importers. So this is also a very important information about the markets. So we did the quick tour of this table, and we can also go into the graph and the map, but that is something you can explore by yourself. We have different features here. Now let's get back to the table, and we say that we are interested in China. We click on China, and we will see who the exporters to the Chinese markets are. Perhaps not surprisingly for you, the biggest exporter would be Belgium, followed by Singapore, France, Malaysia, Australia, and other countries. Similarly, we can check the dynamics of Belgium exports to China. We can do the same for Singapore, and we can customize our indicators. I would like to go to the chart here, because this chart is sometimes a little bit difficult to interpret. Here we have the prospects for diversification of suppliers for a product imported by China in 2020. We have different exporters to the Chinese market, and on the horizontal axis we have the share of partner countries in China's imports. So Belgium is the biggest exporter, so it will be on the right side. Small exporters will be on the left side. On the vertical axis, we have the annual growth of partner countries' exports to the world between 2016 and 2020 in percent. And the size of the bubble would represent, is proportional to the share in bird exports. And what is important here would be the color. If the color is blue, it means that the China import growth from partner is higher. The growth rate would be higher than the partner export growth to the bird, and the yellow color would signify the opposite. If we click on Belgium, we can see this from the perspective of Belgium, and we can focus on the prospect for diversification of Belgium exports. So here we have the on the horizontal axis, we have the share of partner countries in Belgium exports. We know that the most important markets in terms of value exported would be France and Germany. On the vertical axis, we have the annual growth of partner countries' imports from the world between 2016 and 2020. So higher the country is, the higher is the growth. And also we have different colors saying that if the bubble is blue, the Belgium export growth to the partner country would be higher than the partner import growth from the world, so higher than the average. So here we see one more time that the performance of Belgium exports of chocolate in Chinese market would be very high. I understood from Tonya that you would be also interested in finding partners for your clients. Here we have the function with the list of companies. If we click on the list of companies in China, we can also obtain the list of Chinese importers of chocolate. We have different menu here. If your client, for example, thinks that the chocolate can be sold through groceries chains, we can select the groceries here. We have about 283 different potential partners, but I believe that since we focus on chocolate sold in bulk, we would rather go to the importers of the chocolate and cocoa products. We click here and we obtain the list of potential partners. The source of information here would be Dun & Bradstreet database. And then if you click on different companies, you can also find out more about the number of products or service which are traded by those different partners. If I'm not mistaken, we have the option of finding the companies or potential partners for about 60 countries in the world. So please do not hesitate and make your choices of partner countries. You can, for example, choose Vietnam or Japan. So I think that would be Yes, and actually, yeah, we are running out of time, but I can also show you the information about the monthly and quarterly data, which is something we are very proud of. So let's do import products. We do one more time, 1806. 20 chocolate. We focus up on China, and we can pick either the yearly time series, quarterly time series, or monthly time series. If we go for our monthly time series, we will see what the most recent data is. We have the data on imported value until July. If we want to see whether there are any seasonal influences, we can click on chart, or put, for example, the influence of the COVID pandemics would be on trade. And we have a lovely chart, which is again customizable here. Showing the recent trades. So Belgium would be the yellow line here, and we can, for example, see that yeah, sometimes there is a peak, for example, during the first. It's an upward trend during the first month of the year. So we can play around also with the seasonality and the monthly and quarterly data. So I think that would be it for TradeMap. Please do not hesitate to let me know if you have any questions, and we can continue with other tools. Sam, do we have any questions? Or is there anything I didn't mention?
So right now, there's not questions regarding the data itself. However, there are a lot of questions regarding the licenses. So basically, I just want to make sure that it's clear that the access is free for all users in the EU and in developing countries. So if you are located in a developed country like Japan, USA, or United Kingdom, you normally pay for an institutional license, which costs $900 per year. However, if you work at an EU TPO, but located in developed country, you can simply write to us at marketanalysis@intrasend.org, and we always accommodate those requests. So that's not a problem. Then we have another question from Arnaud saying that, could you briefly show us the procurement tool? Unfortunately, we might not have enough time today, but I can share you the link. It is very easy to use, so I would definitely reach out to you. Then we will talk about data on services later after we finish with the scenario about the goods, the trading goods. We will also, another question was about the sources regarding importing companies. These are Dun & Bradstreet and Compass. So we source it from those two partners. Okay, so I think I answered all the question and we're ready to rock and roll. Continue to
I know. We will speed up a little bit because we have 3 more topics to discuss. So now at this point with our scenario, we have the product with the interesting export potential. We have analyzed the recent developments for this particular product on the import and export side. And now we can have a look at the market access conditions, which the information is available in the tool, which is called Market Access Map. You may know already a lot about the market access conditions in terms of tariffs, in terms of non-tariff measures, because this information, if I'm not mistaken, is included also in the access to markets tools. But we believe that through our market access map, we also offer added value. Market access map has 4 different modules. The first one would be the analysis of how to access the market, the basic information. Then we can also compare the access for different competitors, for different products, and on different markets. We can analyze markets, and we are very proud to share that all the data is also downloadable. The information included in the market access map would focus on custom tariffs, different types of tariffs. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go across different types of tariffs and analyze them. The most common one would be the ad valorem tariff, the percentage of the value of the traded goods. The specific tariffs, that is something which is applied, for example, by Switzerland, and that would be the certain amount of money over the quantity of the product. The compound tariffs would be a combination of both. We also include information on tariff rate quotas, and if the specific tariff is applied, we do the calculations of ad valorem equivalence. So that would be the side of the custom tariffs. We include the information on other market conditions, such as trade agreements and rules of origin, trade remedies, meaning whether the country applies any anti-dumping measures, for example, to protect its industries, and the information on non-tariff measures. So I will start with the market access immediately, because I think that the demo would make it easier to. And the exporting country will be, in our case, still Belgium. The destination country, let's do China, because we are interested in Chinese markets, and we know that the dynamics has been very significant. We are still interested in our product 1806-20. And we do simply the search. This tool is available in foreign languages, also in Russian. Please do not hesitate to check every time whether you logged in, because if you didn't, it won't work properly. It happens to me all the time. If it says sign out here, that means that you are logged in and you will have all the functions available. So if we want to export the chocolate from Belgium to China, in our case, the MFN duties would apply at 10%. Since this is ad valorem tariff, the equivalent would be the same. MFN duties is the duty provided by China to all members of WTO. We see that there is no preferential access. There is no trade agreement which would apply to trade in our product. China does not apply any trade remedies, but there is a very long list of regulatory requirements. And our system says that in total there are 63 requirements related to this product, plus 12 which would apply to all goods. It is understandable because chocolate is a commodity which is consumed by humans, so there will be strict regulations related to labeling, to packaging, food feed processing, the phytosanitary measures, and other. So we unfortunately don't have time to go across different NTMs. But if you're interested in knowing more, there is also the explanatory notes available on each requirement. If you are interested in any of those requirements in detail, we simply click here. We have the detail of the measure, the name of the legislation summary, which authority is implementing this legislation, and the link to the document and to this website of the authority. So it provides very detailed information on each measure. Now, by curiosity, we can compare this to Japan. If you have an exporter from Belgium interested in Japan. Where available, we can also opt for a national tariff line because I know that in Japan, actually, you would have different tariff lines which would apply. So I made a selection for you to make our search even more specific. This would be the chocolate which contains a little bit less of sugar than 50%, so a healthier option. And here we see that in Japan, we can benefit from the preferential tariff, meaning that there is an agreement between the EU and the Japan on trade in goods. So the MFN duty, which would apply, is 21.3%. If we meet the conditions to be treated under preferential tariff, we either can get the access at 0% if we are inside the quota, which is 612 tons per year, or if we are outside the quota, it's 18.4%. In order to benefit from preferential tariff, we would need to meet further requirements related to the rules of origin. There are no trade remedies applied by Japan, and there is also the list of regulatory requirements of non-tariff measures applied on this particular product. We see that in case of Japan, this list is actually much shorter. We have 10 different requirements. By clicking on each requirement, we can also obtain additional details. Now, I would like to ask Georgios to launch the poll questions related to the regulatory requirements and to tariffs, the one focusing on Japan. Yes. So we've seen that there are different market access conditions for Belgian chocolate onto the Chinese and Japanese markets. In China, the exports face the MFN rate of 10%, and there are 63 product-specific non-tariff measures. In Japan, in contrast, we can benefit from preferential treatment if we meet the conditions, and we have 10 product-specific NTMs. And based on this information, can we immediately say that the access onto one market is more difficult or more tedious than onto another one? I think this is quite a straightforward question. A simple yes or no or I don't know would be fine. So Georgios, do we have already our responses?
Katerina, I suggest we give a few more moments because people are still responding. What do you think?
We can, or I can continue talking. So the question here obviously is, whether the fact that, for example, we have a longer list of non-tariff measures which would apply to regulatory requirements, whether this automatically means that, it will be more difficult to access the market or not. So we have the responses here. 50% of respondents say yes. Actually, it is possible to say immediately which market would be easier to access, which market would be more difficult to access. 17% say no, and 30% say I don't know, we don't have enough information. So here in this particular poll, I would incline to respond no or I don't know, because actually just the fact that we have, for example, more NTMs applying onto the imports from one country than in the other markets does not necessarily mean that it will be more difficult to access this market. Because, for example, we can have 60 requirements which are very easy to meet, and 10 requirements compared to 10 requirements which the correct response would be either no or I don't know. Thank you very much for your responses. Let's explore the compare mode. We can compare the markets. That's what we did actually through access function already. We can choose the exporting market, which would be Belgium. Again, we keep it, let's say all. One more. I think that I know already the codes for chocolate by heart. See, and here it will be processing a little bit. We can compare access to all markets through this very simple function, simple mode. So here we obtain the table of the market access conditions for the exports of Belgium chocolate under the code 180620 onto all markets. We have different indicators here, and we also can customize the list of indicators. So I would add, for example, 2 more. In the first column, we have the information about the MFN tariffs, the tariff which would apply if we don't have preferential treatment. The effective applied tariffs is the tariff which actually applies if there is a preferential tariff. The preferential tariff would appear here. The preferential margin would be the simple difference between the two, the year of tariff, number of national tariff lines per my code, per my HS6 code. This is very important because the tariffs can significantly differ across the national tariff lines. So then we would need to do additional search. We have the information on HS revisions, the revisions of the harmonized systems that the country adheres to. And here we have the information about the import values, the existence of the preferential trade agreements, if there is any, the number of non-tariff measures which would apply if the information is available, and the information whether the country applies any trade remedies. We can rank actually our table according to the import value. And we will see one more time what are the most important markets for Belgium exports. We see China here, so that's the information we already received, and we see Japan here. You would tell me immediately, yes, but those rates are different from what we've seen previously. This is because of the fact that here we have averages across all the national tariff lines included in my HS6 code. And in case of Japan, we have 9. In case of China, we have only 1. So the situation is easier. If we wish so, we can easily download this table in Excel if we need it for analysis. Different presentation would be through a chart. That is the one I actually like very much. We can add Japan. I think China is already included, and we have a very simple visualization about the effectively applied tariffs and MFN tariffs. And obviously, we see that for the trade, which would be the intra-EU trade, we have 0 rates which apply. And we can do also the map, focusing, for example, on one particular region, because if we do the map for the whole world, it's a little bit messy. So let's focus on one region. Average tariffs would be visualized through different colors. The darker the color, the higher average tariff. And we can also add additional information, for example, on number of non-tariff measures or the existence of trade agreements. So here we see that there is a trade agreement between the EU and Japan, Korea. We have another one in Vietnam, for example. So that's how we can compare markets. We can also compare our competitors. If we are interested in China, we've seen previously in TradeMap that one of our main competitors would be Singapore. And here we can simply compare the market access conditions for Belgium and for Singapore or Malaysia and other countries. Let's rank it according to the export value here. So we've been already, we made it to over the conditions which would apply onto Belgium exports. Singapore, we see that the exports from Singapore can benefit from preferential treatment at the 0 rate if they meet the rules of origin. The same would apply to Malaysia or to Australia. So there are preferential trade agreements which would apply onto trade between China and those countries. And unfortunately, we don't have time to show also compare products, but I would invite you, for example, to make your simulations for the access of different types of chocolate onto the Chinese market. We can do the chocolate which would contain cocoa, that would be anything under the 1806 HS codes, and white chocolate, for example, that would be the code 1704. 90, I believe. So, but the logics, how we proceed would be always the same. We enter the information here and then we compare. Here on the analyzed trade agreements, we can obtain a very useful overview of all trade agreements where, for example, Belgium or the country of our interest would be the party of as exporter. And we can also make comparisons between those trade agreements. So we can click if we are interested, for example, in Japan. We click here, and here we obtain details about the trade agreement and the conditions on rules of origin. So here we also have the connection to the rules of origin facilitator I will be talking about in a few minutes. Do you have any questions related to the market access map, please?
So in the chat box, I don't have any additional questions for market access map. I just like to highlight that we are recording this session and the link to the videos on YouTube will be shared later on, so you can watch it at your own pace. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So let's have a quick look at the last two, which would be the rules of origin facilitator. I've already mentioned that in order to obtain the preferential access to the markets, the rules, the criteria related to the rules of origin would need to be met by the product. So here we have another tool which we think is very user-friendly, very easy to use, and which would help us analyze the conditions related to the rules of origin and understand different rules of origin, because this is a very complicated topic, and you probably from your practice, you know that it can cause headache to your exporters. With the use of our facilitator, we can easily obtain the response to the following question. What rules of origin would apply if I want to benefit from the preferential treatment? What are the differences between trade agreements which might apply if there are two or more trade agreements which would apply to the trade in my product? What are the procedures to obtain the rules of origin certificate? And where can I find the necessary documentation? I included also one slide related, let's say, on the road. This is kind of a roadmap. You have different elements. If you respond to any of the questions in this slide, no, it might be difficult for you to obtain the preferential treatment, and the trade in your goods might be done under the FMN rate. You won't be able to benefit from the preferential rate. So the first question would be the question on agreement. Is there any agreement I can use? Does it cover my product? Does the product comply with the rule of origin under the agreement? Can I prove the origin of the product? It can be sometimes difficult. And can I comply with other origin provisions and conditions? So this is the logic you can follow if you provide the advisory services to your clients. Well, when exploring the rules of origin and possibilities of preferential treatment, the exporter or the importer always makes a kind of a trade-off. Goods might benefit from the preferential margin, saying that we would save some money on the customs duties. In the same time, the compliance might go hand in hand together with some additional burden. We will need to follow additional procedures. We will need to bear some additional costs. So it is always a trade-off, and you may guide your clients through this and help them decide whether it is worth it or not to go ahead with the preferential treatment and rules of origin. So now I think that we can go through different options in the rules of origin facilitator. As always, we already have our country. Let's do Belgium. Let's do Japan, because we know that there is a preferential agreement. Let's do 1806, 20, and 290. That would be our product. And search. And what is lovely about the rules of origin facilitator is the fact that you have all the information in one place. So we already see that, yes, under certain circumstances, we can obtain the preferential rate. We have the information about the agreement, and we have the information about the conditions for the rules of origin which would apply. And here it becomes a little bit tedious because our exporter or us or the importer, somebody has to have very detailed information about the processing of our product and about the ingredients used for our product. So in the case of chocolate, the criterion for the rule of origin would be changed to tariff heading. We would have additional conditions related to the use of materials such as dairy products under 1901, which should not exceed 10% of the weight of the product. If they are non-originating, then we would have additional rules for the use of sugar. That would be 1701 and 1702. And if they are not originating, they should not exceed 30% of the weight of the product. If we are not sure about the rules of origin which would apply, we can click on the explanatory notes. And for example, here we would also receive additional information. So now we need to know also how our chocolate is made. I will click on find out more, and here we have all the information on one page. And we will see that we have a very detailed overview about the provisions related to rules of origin. The accumulation is possible, the diagonal one and the full one. The minimis rule would apply to small quantities of non-originating materials. Roll up is possible, etc. One more time, those are very technical terms. If we are not sure what they mean, we click on Y and we have the explanation here. We can also find the information about the provisions on certificate of origin. We see that under this particular trade agreement, self-certification is possible. The exemption of certification is for small consignments up to 500 euros or 100,000 yens. And we have other information here. What is very useful is also the links, one more time, to the chapter in the agreement to the on certificates of origin, on the product specific rules of origin, customs administration. And here, if we go down, we also have direct contacts of the institutions which would be involved, and we can download the certificate of origin. So this is a very comprehensive list. I would like to show you one more thing which I find especially interesting, and that would be the information on agreements. If we search for an agreement in particular, in our case, it might be, let's say, we do EU Japan here, and click here. We also obtained a very detailed overview of this agreement, and then here we have the rules of origin at a glance windows, so we can zoom in, and this gives us the overviews of the most commonly used types of rules of origin under this particular agreement, and we can explore in detail. So I think this would be the quick tour over the rules of origin facilitator. You probably have already had a quick look at also at the self-assessment tool, which is included in Access to Markets website for some agreements between the EU and third countries. So I'm very happy to inform you that we are planning to integrate the same function also in this rules of origin facilitator for all countries in the world, but it's being under construction at this point. And I think that we can launch the next poll question. And it's an easy one. Based on the information you received and your own practice, why would sugar matter for exports of chocolate? Is it because of the fact that different content of sugar could impact the classification of our chocolate, or is it because of the fact that actually this is very important for rules of origin assessment, or both? I think this one is easy for you. Georgios, do we have answers? Both would be, to my understanding, the correct answer. Thank you very much. Would you have any questions related to rules of origin facilitator?
Yes, so I have a question from Pim regarding whether, because she mentioned that we often refer SMEs to access to market, are there other things that set market access map apart from A2M? So I mentioned quickly that we cover.
Are we talking about market access map or about?
Yes, she went back to market access map a little bit. So just to highlight that they are complementary. And Pim also said that she liked the comparing countries option. So that is very, very useful to have the overview. Thank you.
That would be our value added, actually, if you use the MAC map. Perfect. So if there are no other questions, let's explore our offer on trade and services. Actually, I had another poll question, but I'm not sure whether you have time for it. It will be actually this question: what happens if the good satisfies rules of origin, but the customs or the certificate of origin is rejected because of authenticity? And here different scenarios might apply. If there are technical errors in the proof of origin, the document might be rejected and given back to the importer. The customs authorities can also contact authorities in the country of origin to verify the authenticity. And the customs, if the certificate is not deemed satisfactory, the customs duties can be levied in full with possible increases. And actually all those options can apply depending on the scenario. So I don't think we need to do poll here, but this is something we need to consider when we speak about certificates of origin, which might be in some cases rejected, and what we can do. And now let's see our offer on trade and services. Trade in services differs in many ways from trade in goods. It is the way also how it is going to be captured is different from that on trade in goods. We offer different functionalities related to trade in services and analysis of trade in services across different ITC tools. The trade flows would be captured in TradeMap. Procurement opportunities would be captured in Procurement Map, but unfortunately today we don't have time to focus on this tool. But if you wish to have a separate training, perhaps we could get organized for that. Standards for selected types of services would be captured in Sustainability Map, and FDI data would be captured through the Investment Map. It is very important to mention that the methodologies for Export Potential Map can be applied also on trade and services. But the issue here is that there is currently the lack of bilateral data. In terms of making meaningful projections, we would need a quality bilateral data between different partner countries. There are detailed items of the extended balance of payments statistics, which at this point we unfortunately don't have. But the methodology is very much relevant, and we've already conducted the initial experimentations with this. We've also developed a taxonomy of obstacles to trade in services through our program on the non-tariff measures. One more time, I would like to mention here that unfortunately the offer related to trade and services is a little bit more limited than that on trade in goods. In some cases, the measures would not apply. We don't speak about tariffs. If we talk about trade and services, tariffs would not apply. But another important element here is really the lack of the data. The European Union and other partners and donors are very much aware of this, and they are supporting a number of projects implemented by the International Trade Center aimed at improving the quality of data and the data coverage. So we are hoping that in the midterm future, the offer will be even more extended. How do we classify trade in services? Well, we don't use the harmonized system, which applies only to trade in goods. We use the classification according to the balance of payments manual, which is the recommended classification. And we have 12 broad categories here, starting from the manufacturing services over transport, travel, personal, culture, and recreational services to government goods. If you are interested in this, please do not hesitate to consult our manuals under the trade map. You will have detailed information on this too, or go directly to the manual. But it's 6th edition, but it's a very, very long read. I think that now we can explore what we offer under the trade map. So let's get back to trade map. If we go to the homepage of TradeMap, instead of selecting products, we would select services here. So you immediately see that our menu is narrowed down. Service. I think that we can opt for the other business services. Other business services, that would be the category 10 under the balance of payments manual. And we can immediately see what is included in other business services. That would be the technical, trade related and other business services, such as consulting services. Included would be also research related services and similar. And the European Union is one of the biggest exporters. So let's pick, for example, we can do imports to France or exports from France. We can do exports from France, and we see that unfortunately we don't have trade indicators available here because of the lack of data. We have the yearly time series and quarterly time series. We don't have monthly time series either, and we don't have the information of companies. So if we click on yearly time series, we would obtain a detailed overview of exported values. We can also extend our search more to the past. And I forgot to mention that all tables are easily downloadable in the format you need if you click on those icons. So here we have the information about the export by country. We can also select by service. We see that this data is prepared in line with the revision number 6 of the balance of payments, which is the recommended one. If we do the combined version, in the case of some countries, we will see the new color, which would be the light blue color, meaning that this again is in line with the recommendations of the balance of payments manual number 6. If the color is different, that means that the country does not adhere to these recommendations and they still use the balance of payments manual number 5. That would be the preceding version. That is important for the comparison of the data. So that would be the offer under the trade map. We also have the direct link to procurement map, to public tenders here, to FDI data, and to standards map. Importantly, when we speak about trade and services as it is captured in the trade map, we will, as mentioned before, we will follow the logics of the balance of payments. So here we will capture the transactions between residents and non-residents. So that is a slightly different logics than for trade in goods. And we would also need to explore the definition of the residency principle, which sometimes is replaced by, for example, the nationality principle and citizenship principle, but there we would not follow the recommendations of our manuals. And the issue here also is that the data or the breakdown of the data per country is not available, and also for many countries, this is not the case of France, and also the detailed breakdown per type of service is not available either. So here we have a lot to do, but we are hoping that in the future we can offer more. At this point, we can offer the data on the exported values, and you can calculate your own indicators if you find the relevant data for your search. So that is for our offer on trade and services. I would be happy to tell you more about our projects, what we do with central banks and the National Bureau of Statistics in different countries, how we help them improve, for example, the sources for the international statistics on trade and services, and what outcomes we expect. But I'm afraid that that would be the topic for another workshop or a training. And so I will stop my presentation here today. I would like to ask you whether you have any questions related to any tools which I've presented today or to trade in services. And if you don't, I think it's time for another coffee.
All right, then I would like to thank Katerina very much. Pichaya, I see there may be one other question.
Yes, I'm in the middle of replying to Pim. So basically, we have a web page where we put the link to our materials, etc. And I will also like to mention that if you would like to link from your website to ITC's tool, we also provide HTML code that you can directly do so. I will be sharing that link in the chat box in just a few seconds, and there's no further questions.
All right. Thank you. Then I would like to thank Katerina and Pichaya very much for the great presentation. From the questions, we can certainly see that people found it interesting. So I hope we will all be able to use these tools now in our work when we produce market studies, when we answer questions to companies. We want to thank you, Katerina, in particular, for the presentation. It's very clear. And thank you all the colleagues from all the different TPOs who join and take time to listen. And hopefully see you again in the next EPWA event.
Thank you very much. And please, if you have any questions, even after this presentation, do not hesitate to share those with us. We will be happy to respond. And if we don't have our response immediately, we will forward your question to our specialists, which deal with each tool. And we are pretty positive that we will find the answers to your pertinent questions. And we will also, they can also show you other functionalities, which I could not show today, since you would normally need 2 hours per tool in order to make a very detailed presentation, because there is much more to show. So please do not hesitate also to make your own scenarios, experiment with the tools. We strongly believe that they might be very useful for your work.
Yeah. And we have recorded the session. We will upload it on the ETPWA website. George will send you the link to it today, or when we've uploaded it, we will send you the link, and then you can review the presentation once again. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a lovely day.
You too, Katerina.
Thank you.
Bye.